Okay, welcome to today's Galactic Mayan weather report. So today we begin a new Wavespell. So it's a new 13-day evolutionary process. And the last 13 days, finishing up yesterday, was a 13-day process around what we call the Red Moon Wavespell. So this Red Moon Wavespell, its function was all about purification. It was about running the essence of universal water through our astral body, through our emotional bodies, the collective emotional body, and stirring it up and purifying it, allowing flow to happen again. Because when we get stuck in our body, when emotions get stuck, they get stagnant, they get stuck into our cellular body. So we have all these emotional memories from our childhood, from our growing up, from everyday life. It builds up. And if we don't use our emotional intelligence to be able to process them, they get stuck in our body. And when emotions get stuck in our body, it blocks the flow, it blocks the chi, it blocks all kinds of things. Energy cannot move when we have these stagnations. So the red moon has been, it really calls in that energy, this real divine purification essence to purify. And it has a really important function. And we understand these functions by looking at the placement in the Mayan Tzolk'in, in this 260-day cycle, as to what energies come after what. We can really discover some really cool secrets. So when we look at the Red Moon Wavespell that finished yesterday, the whole purpose of why we are purifying is to allow ourselves to become open. It's allow ourselves to become clean, open conduits for spirit to walk and talk through us. Because today, we open up the 13-day Wavespell of the White Wind. So the White Wind Wavespell. Now this is a 13-day process that revolves around the archetype of the priestess. And what we're talking about is this energy is essentially evolving our capacity to be able to surrender ourselves to the stream of spirit, our higher self, spirit, however you wish to think of it. But basically it's about opening up to allowing spirit to move through us and being these divine conduits for all that is, whatever way you want to think of it. So the White Wind is very much about communication. And so when we look at this, the kind of topics we'll most likely come across in this 13-day Wavespell is, will revolve around communication. It's around communication with spirit, first and foremost. It's about purifying and opening up our capacity to actually listen beyond the physical, listen beyond the mental, the main, everyday. It's to be able to listen and hear spirit speaking. Hear spirit in the rocks. There's memory in these things. To hear what's being said, to hear what's under the actual surface of what's being said, to truly listen to the frequencies that are being transmitted. So essentially, for me, because that's all I can really offer here is my perceptions of these, for me this really speaks to not just our capacity to listen to spirit. Now that's really important because the wind will blow things into your world during this 13 days. And we need to be prepared to dance in that wind and receive that wind and really look into what is the message the wind is bringing with it. And here comes the wind now. And interestingly enough, today, being white magnetic wind, I woke up to the sound of wind pummeling the windows. And we've had a really powerful windy day up on the hill. And so it's been quite synchronic to be able to experience that magic that happens. And on top of it, the wind has blown in the beautiful Vasumi, who's most of you probably have come across, that does her own version of the Mayan weather. And so together we're having this beautiful opportunity where we were synchronistically blown together. And we're going to explore that communication over these next days. And we'll be sharing a little bit, I'm sure. But it's exciting times to really just trust in what the wind blows along the pathway. And instead of thinking that why these things turn up, try surrendering into the not knowing. Try surrendering into letting go of control of why these things are turning up. And just dance with them. So learn to play with them. And the other element I really wanted to talk about today is about communication in general. because this white wind wave spell is going to be dealing with communication in general. And one of the biggest lessons that I've ever got in my life is about listening, you know, and about letting go of this very human kind of instinct to need to know, to want to understand the unknown. It's what science kind of is founded upon. You know, this fear of the unknown, which drives us to keep trying to understand. And with this communication, when we speak to people, so really focus on that these days. When you're having conversations with partners, family, children, especially with children, you know, but with everyone in business, you know, in partnerships, take the time to really bring your awareness to the conversation and listen wholeheartedly. So listen with your heart. Listen with your heart, not with your brain. And many of you, I'm sure all of you, have had the experience of what it feels like when you're having a conversation with somebody and they say something. And if it's an argument, they might say something and you go, oh, that's wrong. I know that's wrong. And I know it's wrong because of this, because of this, because of this. So we sit in our heads, and for the rest of that person's statement, we're not even listening anymore. We're already going through our head to come up with the next answer, to retaliate, to prove them wrong so that we don't get the blame. And many other reasons, you know, there's all kinds of stuff hidden in there. Or it could be even when we're having a conversation and it's happy, you know, someone's sharing something from their heart about how special something was. And I'm sure all of you have done this, and I know I'm very guilty of it. As someone is saying this story and there's a point that you really resonate with, and you, oh, me too, and you jump into the conversation. Oh yeah, me too, that happened back in, and we hijack the conversation. Or we let them finish, but in our heads, we've hijacked the conversation. And in our heads, we're already spinning the story we want to share about our experience with what they're sharing. And all of this is really pulling us away from truly hearing what the other person is actually trying to transmit. Because they've actually got a frequency in their heart that they're trying to transmit. But they don't always know the right words to say it. And if we get caught on the surface words, we can often lose the hidden message that is actually the most important part. So, my challenge to you for this 13 days of the white wind, I'm enjoying throwing these challenges out. My challenge to you, it's actually quite simple, but possibly one of the hardest things to do, is bring your awareness to how you are communicating with your family and friends and workplaces. And bring your awareness and see if you can catch yourself out doing these things. And see if you can bring your focus to truly listening. So the next time that a child is upset and getting really angry or frustrating or playing up, see if you can actually just take the time to calm, breathe. So key to the white wind is breath. Really breathe deep into your body. And when you breathe deep into your body, you anchor yourself in your body. And when you breathe deep, the oxygen fills all of your cells, and then your body can relax. And stress cannot exist in a body that is fully oxygenated. That's a secret, and it's a worthy one to work on and experiment with. Watch yourself. When stress comes in, when these conversations happen, someone says something that triggers your fear or triggers your shame or triggers your anything, watch how your breath becomes shallow. And it becomes shallow. And then stress comes in because the body doesn't have oxygen in it. It doesn't have the breath. So now the cells are actually starving of oxygen. So now the cells are panicking and we just want to survive. So we say what we got to say to try and survive. But if instead, when that trigger happens, instead of reacting with some kind of vocal, intonement, just breathe. Have patience. And when you breathe, you reconnect into your core. You reconnect to your higher self. You reconnect to spirit. And you connect to your heart. And then through that breath, you can stabilize yourself and just let them finish what they're saying and actually listen to them. And it will hurt at times because sometimes it's aimed directly at you. But if you can just absorb that and hear what they're saying, what you'll find is that there's actually a fear or there's love. there's something under what they're trying to say that has nothing really to do with the words that they're saying. So take the time during this white wind wave spell to really work on your listening capacity. Because if you can truly learn how to listen, and really listen with your heart, to listen underneath the discord of the world and hear the magic that's being tried to express, then life will change drastically. Your capacity to communicate and work with others will improve greatly. Your capacity to hear spirit speaking through other people, spirit speaking through the plants, through the rocks, through the crystals, through the heart, you'll hear it all. Because it's always speaking and it's all around us. But we have to learn how to slow down and listen. And that is one of the most vital aspects of communication, is to listen, to receive, not to give, but to receive spirit, to receive communication from others, to receive their message, and then honor it by actually feeling into it and acknowledging it. Give recognition for how they feel. And then share yours. And hopefully they will be able to hear you and follow your lead. Because when they see the respect you give through listening, it makes it much easier for them to listen in return. But it takes someone to be the bigger person, as they say, to be the one that first puts down the weapons and listens and receives the full message. And when you do this, you'll start to see some pretty amazing things turn up. There's some pretty amazing stuff happening right now. There is a lot of magic in this madness. So, we've purified, we've allowed the flow, and now let's spend 13 days together all around the globe. Big love to all of you out there that are listening. And let's start working together. Let's spend this 13 days on working on our communication skills so that we can start working together and co-creating the new world based on love. Because we are all vessels of love. We're here to deliver love to each other, to the world. So we need to be able to receive love. So let's do it together. And I'm excited for what comes over the next days, and I really feel there's some magic stirring up after this purification. And I'm in surrender to whatever comes. So all my love to all of you out there, and so much gratitude and respect to you all for doing the walk. There. In Lakesh, all my love.